stories of the news. Aisha Binani denies bribing official of INEC to procure favorable declaration as governor-elect. Chinese government denies funding militants to assess Nigerian mining sites. On the foreign scene, Fox News settles defamation lawsuit from voting machine company over its reporting of 2020 presidential election. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Okweyemioni. We begin in Adamawa State, where the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Aisha Binani Dahiru, has denied bribing an official of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The Adamawa governorship supplementary election was conducted on Saturday, following the declaration of a March 18th poll as inconclusive over alleged irregularities. The collation of election results was suspended till Sunday after results from 10 local government areas were announced. However, the resident electoral commissioner of INEC, Udu Yunusa Ari, declared Binani as the winner when the results from the remaining local government areas had not been announced. After her declaration, there were reports that the APC candidate gave INEC officials 2 billion naira to be announced as the winner. However, in a statement issued on Tuesday evening, Binani denied giving the sum of 2 billion naira to procure a favorable declaration as governor-elect to some unnamed INEC staff. In another development, Governor of Adamawa State, Amadu Fintiri, has expressed its support for the prosecution of alleged perpetrators of what he describes as the criminality behind the drama that played out at the governorship rerun. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, declared Fintiri as of the People's Democratic Party the winner on Tuesday. Fintiri said during an interview moments after his victory was made official that everybody has learned a lesson, but he, however, did not identify those he thought should be prosecuted. However, INEC has since resolved to write the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, to probe and prosecute the resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, Uduari. Similarly, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, ordered the immediate replacement of a Commissioner of Police on election duty in Adamawa, Mohamed Bade, with his counterpart in Gombe State, CP Etim Ekwa. Police spokesperson Muyiwa Adejobi made the announcement on Tuesday while briefing journalists in Abuja. In the meantime, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the just concluded election, Atiku Abubakar, has lauded Umaru Fintiri's re-election as governor of Adamawa State, describing it as a win for democracy. Aisha Binani Dahiru of the All Progressives Congress, APC, was earlier declared the winner by an official of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Even before the collation of results for the supplementary exercise ended, a move that the commission nullified. But following the conclusion of a rescheduled collation, Fintiri was declared the winner of the highly dramatic poll on Tuesday, beating his closest rival, Binani. Minutes after the declaration, Atiku said the triumph proves that good can overcome bad. Away from politics, youths under the auspices of Afenifere Yoruba Youth Organization of Nigeria staged a protest in Akure, the Ondo State capital, on Tuesday against the leadership of the acting leader of a pan-Yoruba socio-political association, Afenifere, Ayo Adebanjo. The protesters, who stormed the residence of the national leader of a group, Reuben Fashionati, in Akure, said they had passed a vote of no confidence in Adebanjo's leadership. Leader of the protesters, Eric Oluwole, said the group considered Fashionati as the authentic national leader of the Afenifere and called on Adebanjo to immediately step down on his capacity as the acting leader. The youth called on Adebanjo to step down immediately and stop parading himself as the national leader of Afenifere. Now to security. Police authorities in Imo State have dislodged a camp suspected to belong to the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in Oguta local government area of the state. Police Public Relations Officer ASP Henry Okoye disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday, saying the suspected terrorists had reassembled and formed a camp at Uba Agua, a Zombe tropical rainforest in Oguta. Items recovered from the camp include 3 automatic pump-action guns, 31 rounds of live cartridges, 15 rounds of AK-47 ammunition, 1 police hand grenade, explosive devices, a bow and arrow, charms, and other fetish objects. IPOB ESN emblem, blue and black color police uniforms, among other items. According to Okoye, the IPOB members were strategizing on how to perpetrate another dreadful crime before operatives of command's tactical teams swiftly swung into action and maneuvered their way into the identified criminal hideout and raided it. The Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Bade, while commending the officers and men for their gallantry, ordered operatives of a command to continually raid criminal hideouts and mop up illicit firearms. In Rivers State, a policeman, Adejo Siaka, has been demoted from the rank of inspector to sergeant following complaints and findings from a video widely circulated on social media on Sunday. First Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi disclosed this in a statement on Tuesday, saying Siaka was sanctioned for assault, discreditable conduct, and incivility to members of the public in the Umuwa area of the state. The police authorities also reprimanded a second officer, Sergeant Indiwa Webari, who was also present at the scene but took no step to discourage the inappropriate act, and acquitted a third officer, Inspector Friday Obaka, who was later discovered to have been absent from the scene. Adejobi said Siaka's demotion followed an orderly room trial of the affected policeman by the first Provost Marshal. In Lagos State, the National Industrial Court sitting in Lagos has nullified the appointment of an ad hoc committee put in place by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to run the affairs of the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, RITIAN, in the state, and reinstated the elected leadership of the union. Justice Maureen Esowe held that the act of Lagos State government in suspending the national union's operations in the state and setting up a caretaker committee is illegal and unconstitutional. The court also restrained the state government from further interfering with the operations of the union's executives. Members of the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria besieged the court in their numbers to witness the proceedings, but police officials were also on ground to keep the peace. In September 2022, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu had ordered the immediate suspension of all activities of the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria in the state. The government said the suspension became necessary following some pockets of violence recorded in Ojo and Lagos Island areas of the state. Moving on, the Nigerian Correctional Service has revealed that no fewer than 3,298 inmates across the custodial centers in Nigeria are on death row. Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Correctional Service, Abubakar Umar, who disclosed this to Newsman today in Abuja, however, said the term condemned criminal had been abrogated. He pointed out that death sentences were not always carried out immediately they were imposed. Umar said some IDRs had been in custody for many years, adding that some had been there since they were arrested up to when they were tried and sentenced. According to him, many of them committed capital offenses like culpable homicide, armed robbery, terrorism, among others. Elsewhere, the Chinese government has denied funding militants to assess Nigerian mining sites, adding that it will never be involved in any form of terrorism financing. China had reacted to report by British news platform The Times about financing terrorists to assess Nigeria's mineral resources through a statement denying its involvement. However, the Chinese embassy said in a statement that the report is based on unverified, unclear, and unproven information, to which the country expresses strong dissatisfaction and objection. The Chinese government and the Chinese embassy in Nigeria added that they have always encouraged and urged the Chinese companies and nationals in Nigeria to abide by the laws and regulations of Nigeria and to implement the local rules and guidance on labor, environment, health, and safety, and would continue their efforts in this regard. The statement added that the allegation contained in the report were totally irresponsible and unethical, and the intention of the report is questioned. You're watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
legendary Queen of Zazzau is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. Her 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of her army and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize was born 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back on Spring News at 12. Now to the rest of the bulletin. In an effort to stem the tide of malaria disease in Nigeria, the federal government yesterday granted provisional approval for the R21 malaria vaccine developed by scientists at the Oxford University. The Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, said the vaccine is indicated for the prevention of clinical malaria in children from 5 months to 36 months of age. Toby Sanusi has more on this.
The approval of the R21 malaria vaccine by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, will resuscitate hopes among millions of Nigerian children who battle the life-threatening disease. In a country that had the highest number of global malaria index in 2021 and the highest number of deaths in 2022, according to the World Malaria Report, the vaccine approval means mortality rate among children will be reduced. This is as the Director General of NAFDAC, Mojisola Adeyeye, disclosed that the vaccine is indicated for prevention of malaria in children between 5 months to 36 months.
A malaria vaccine that has high efficacy. The efficacy of this vaccine is 75%. Therefore, it is good. And we just didn't come to that conclusion just like that. The approval process went through very rigorous dynamics, so to say. We had an external review committee from 4 different universities. These are known researchers in the area of malaria science, full professors, well published, and this review of theirs was done independently from that of NAFDAC. We have a standing NAFDAC vaccine committee. But because this vaccine is a new molecule, it is new, it has not been approved by any country aside from Ghana, we took our time to make sure that the review is very rigorous.
Professor Adeyeye added that Nigeria expects to get at least 100,000 doses of the vaccine before the arrangements with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Reacting to this, a lecturer at the Osun State University, Professor Monsuru Adeleke, while speaking on Western Spring Television Morning Spring program, maintains that with the approval, the prevalence of malaria in Nigeria will gradually phase out.
NAFDAC has all the enabling law to regulate the drugs and the food being brought into the country. Some of the studies that have been done around this R21 vaccine have shown that it can give, it passes what we call threshold. The threshold of efficacy is around 75 according to the WHO guideline, and it was more than that threshold. And what we are saying is that in Nigeria, most importantly, that is still accounting for the highest burden of the infection. Can we bring up something to protect the children, at least more than 50%, and this infection can be on the way phase out. So it's a welcome development.
The R21 vaccine, which has been described as a world changer by scientists, was first approved by the World Health Organization in Ghana on April 14th, making Nigeria the second country to approve the new malaria vaccine developed at the University of Oxford. The World Health Organization had earlier in 2021 recommended the use of the R21 vaccine, which is the world's first malaria vaccine.
And I longed for the day that we would have an effective vaccine against this ancient and terrible disease. And today is that day, an historic day.
According to the World Health Organization, over 600,000 people die of the mosquito-borne disease each year, accumulating for the death of a child per minute every day. Out of these statistics, the African region accounts for half of all malaria deaths worldwide, and here in Nigeria, 97% of the population are at risk of the disease. Hopefully, this narrative will change following the approval of the vaccine in Nigeria. Toby Sanusi, Western Spring Television News.
On the foreign scene, Fox News has settled a defamation lawsuit from the voting machine company Dominion over its reporting of the 2020 presidential election in a last-minute settlement before trial. In a last-minute settlement before trial, the network agreed to pay $787.5 million, but half of the $1.6 billion initially sought by Dominion. Dominion argued its business was harmed by Fox spreading false claims that the vote had been rigged against Donald Trump. Fox said Tuesday's settlement in one of the most anticipated defamation trials in recent U.S. history reflected its commitment to the highest journalistic standards, adding that the network acknowledges the court's rulings, finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. Told a press conference, the deal included Fox admitting to telling lies, causing enormous damage to my company. A Dominion attorney, Justin Nelson, told reporters that the truth matters.
Today's settlement of $787,500,000 represents vindication and accountability. Lies have consequences. The truth does not know red or blue.
Fox and Dominion have reached an historic settlement. Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that. Throughout this process, we have sought accountability and believe the evidence brought to light through this case underscores the consequences of spreading lies. Truthful reporting in the media is essential to our democracy. Dominion, our employees, our people, our partners are grateful to the court for allowing us the process for the truth to come out.
Here in Africa, fighting raged in Sudan hours after an internationally brokered truce was supposed to have come into effect as forces loyal to dueling generals battled for key locations in the capital and accused each other of violating the ceasefire allowed ceasefire. Loud gunfire reverberated on Tuesday in the background of live feeds by multiple television news channels in the Khartoum capital region minutes after the agreed 6 p.m. onset of a ceasefire. The regular army and the rival paramilitary rapid support forces issued statements accusing each other of failing to respect the ceasefire. The army's high command said it would continue operations to secure the capital and other regions. The conflict between Sudan's military leader and his deputy on Sudan's ruling council erupted 4 days ago, derailing an internationally backed plan for a transition to a civilian democracy 4 years after the fall of former leader Omar al-Bashir to mass protest and 2 years after a military coup. The fighting has triggered what the UN has described as a humanitarian catastrophe, including the near collapse of the health system. In Asia, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has said his country has completed the development of its first military spy satellite and ordered officials to proceed with a planned launch. Kim, who was visiting the country's National Aerospace Development Administration, said developing reconnaissance capabilities was a priority to counter threats from the United States and South Korea, and that several satellites were necessary to firmly establish an intelligence gathering capability. Kim urged the deployment of a satellite as scheduled but did not elaborate on the launch date. In December, North Korea conducted what it called an important final phase test for its spy satellite and said it would complete preparations for the launch by April. Kim also accused the US and South Korea of expanding hostile military campaigns in the name of bolstering the alliance and claimed the US was trying to turn South Korea into an advanced base for aggression and an arsenal for war by deploying military assets like aircraft carriers and nuclear-capable bombers in the region. 12 people have been detained by police for questioning after a hospital fire in Beijing killed at least 29, most of them patients. The fire among the deadliest in recent years broke out in Changfeng Hospital on Tuesday. Many said they spent the night trying to locate loved ones, but those who were rescued have now been shifted to other hospitals for treatment. Speaking at a press conference today, officials said a preliminary investigation showed that sparks generated during renovation works had ignited paint stored on site. Among those detained are the director and deputy director of the hospital, as well as the head of a firm overseeing the renovation works. According to reports, firefighters evacuated about 70 people and put out the flames within an hour of arriving, but relatives of those who were being treated at Changfeng were furious with the hospital management.
这个没事，哎呦妈呀！我们在这儿，我们在这
儿。Elsewhere, Brazilian President Luiz Lula da Silva has announced the violation of Ukraine's territorial integrity after facing criticism for remarks he made over the weekend about Russia's invasion of the country. Brazil has positioned itself as an advocate for peace amidst the war in Ukraine, which has injured or killed as many as 22,209 civilians by March 20. But over the weekend, Lula inflamed international relations with remarks that appeared to blame Ukraine for its part in the war, saying it was caused by decisions made by two countries. He also criticized the United States and Europe for contributing to the hostilities by supplying Ukraine with weapons. In a Facebook post on Tuesday, Oleg Nikolenko, a spokesperson for Ukraine's foreign ministry, called on Lula to visit the war-torn country to understand the real causes and essence of Russian aggression and its consequences for global security. However, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre rejected comments from the Brazil's president, who has accused the United States and the European Union of prolonging the conflict by supplying arms to the Ukrainians.
We were struck by the tone of the press conference of the foreign minister yesterday, which was not a tone of neutrality, suggesting that the United States and Europe are not interested in peace or that we share responsibility for the war. We believe, and it is true, that it is plainly wrong. Of course, we want this war to end. Of course we do. And we support President Zelensky's call for a just end to Russia's war of choice. And to say, and again, what we heard, the tone was not neutral. And it is not true, and so we'll continue to speak out against that, just like you heard from Admiral Kirby yesterday. I'll say this: we are confident in the strength of the U.S.-Brazil relationship, even if we disagree with some of the things that the President Lula said. We are still confident in that engagement, in that relationship.
Now to some business stories. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika says Africa has begun implementation of single African air transport market to improve global competitiveness. Senator Sirika, represented by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Emmanuel Meribole, said this during the SAATM Pilot Implementation Cluster Coalition Roadshow in Abuja. The Single African Air Transport Market is a project of the African Union to create a single market for air transport in Africa. 35 African nations showed commitment to pilot the initiative when it was launched in 2018, but presently 15 countries, including Nigeria, have appended their signatures to the project. Once completely in force, airlines from the 15 signatory countries will, through their strategic partnership, cut costs, increase the size of the available fleet at their disposal, and enable flights between their territories. Speaking at the event, Director General of Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, said air connectivity is an asset which improves global competitiveness of cities, states, and regions. The federal government says it will increase excise tax on tobacco products from 30% ad valorem to 50% as part of measures to control tobacco smoking in the country. Head of Tobacco Control Unit, No Communicable Disease Division, Federal Minister of Health, Mangai Malau, disclosed this on Tuesday at the National Tobacco Control Budget Advocates meeting in Abuja. He said presently the federal government imposed a 30% tax on tobacco products, but its target was to increase to 50% in order to meet the World Health Organization standard. According to him, the World Health Organization said tobacco causes more than 8 million deaths annually around the world, with more than 7 million of those deaths as a result of direct tobacco use. Malau also added that tobacco smoke contained over 7,000 chemicals, of which hundreds were toxic and about 70 are known to cause cancer. And now to sports. AC Milan reached the semi-finals of the Champions League on Tuesday after Olivier Giroud struck the crucial goal in a 1-1 draw at Napoli, which completed a 2-1 aggregate victory over their fellow Italians. Giroud tapped in what turned out to be the decisive goal 2 minutes before the break after a blistering run from Rafael Leao, who was once again key as Milan beat Napoli for the third time this month. The French striker's 13th goal of the season saved his blushes after he missed a penalty midway through the first half. Stefano Pioli's side now have the prospect of a local derby in the last 4 as Inter Milan hold a 2-goal lead ahead of their second leg with Benfica on Wednesday night. Milan have not contested a Champions League semi-final since they were crowned kings of Europe for the 7th and most recent time in 2007. Before we end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. The governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in Adamawa State, Aisha Benani Dahiru, has denied bribing an official of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The Chinese government has denied funding militants to assess Nigerian mining sites, adding that it will never be involved in any form of terrorism financing. On the foreign scene, Fox News has settled a defamation lawsuit from the voting machine company Dominion over its reporting of the 2020 presidential election. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Okoyemuni. Thanks for watching.